Dear Maricris Basto, thank you so much for joining us at the Chennai Storytelling Festival 2022. I know you're coming in all the way from the Philippines, so I want to thank you so much for joining us. Please tell us a little bit about yourself, your work, and please tell us a story.
Hi, everyone, and good afternoon to everyone in the whole world. My name is Maricris. I'm from the Philippines. Oh, wait. It's a bit noisy here because there are several generators running. There's a power interruption here, so please bear with me. And this is my second time to tell a story in the Chennai Storytelling Festival. And although it's hard to get a signal here, I'm really thankful that Eric is being accommodating. My story is entitled Who Moved My Chair? It's about change and how the main character respond or do not respond to it. This story is about a boy named Perfecto, and his last name is Zamora. Perfecto was my classmate some 20 plus years ago, and I could never forget he was once my seatmate, and literally just once, just on the first day of school. I would say he was, he was kind of weird, but he was fun to be with. Perfecto was a friendly and a happy boy. But there was something then that he was not so happy about. From that time he sat on the first chair that he was on, he kept on moving and moving like a restless kid, looking for his lost toy. Indeed, it was the chair that was bothering him all day. He complained it was unevenly set on the floor, it was too wobbly for someone like him that big to keep to stay still, especially that he loves looking around and around. It was too light that he fears he might fall and stumble any time of it. He swore to be early the next day to get the best chair among all others. True enough, I entered the class and saw him grinning while seated firmly on an entirely different chair. The blockiest one in the entire room. The rest of the chairs next to him have been taken, and I was left to choose only among those vacant chairs in the back row. From the back, I saw how Perfecto really felt comfortable with his chair. He was very active in all classroom activities, and the chair, I suppose, played a really big part in it. A few weeks have passed. Our teacher announced that she'll be making some changes with regards to the arrangement in our classroom. She decided that she needed our test papers turned in an orderly manner, that is, from A to Z, so it's easy for her to record our quiz scores. And so she had us arrange from A to Z based on our last names. She started with me, Abarca, that is my last name, in the front row. And so I sat gladly on the first chair in front. Soon, it was Perfecto's turn, Zamora. Zamora, called the teacher. And there he was on the other side of the room, dragging with all his might that same blocky chair he had been using for weeks. Separate from the rest of the chairs, Perfecto's chair looked even blockier and bulkier than ever. And as he was pulling the chair towards the back row, the room for a moment was filled with silence. The screeching sound of the chair's feet started to pain everyone's ears. Before I could even signal to him to carry and not to drag the chair, our classmates started bursting into laughter. Maybe they were laughing over the disturbed seconds of silence. And yes, as children, we do laugh over small things like that. The laughter was not because Perfecto looked odd dragging the chair, but it still made him blush, and he was obviously embarrassed. Still, he hurriedly pulled the chair towards the back row while the class was busy laughing. I was relieved to see Perfecto back to his jolly pace, not too long after he was seated on his favorite chair. Rainy days came, often each turned in a typhoon. Classes were suspended because a super typhoon was to hit us in the next few days. It was really a super typhoon that I worried too much about our classroom. I worried about Perfecto's chair. A week after the bad weather was gone, schools reopened. The floor was newly polished. The chairs, however, were a bit odd to my eyes. The teacher cleaned and polished the floor, but returned the chairs at random places. Who moved my chair? There goes Perfecto dragging his favorite chair back to his place in the last row. The weather was again very hot. The remaining mud stuck on the edges of the room had dried up and peeled off. The chairs, which for a long time after the rainy days smelled like molds and yeast, started to smell very woody again. The creases on them started to emboss again. Sorry. Perfecto came in, and as he put his backpack on the chair, a soft crackle sound came out of it. The chair had warned us. Perfecto sat, and at the very moment he rested his weight on the chair toppled off, tossed Perfecto and his backpack up and down the floor, and was totally dismantled. And that was the last time I saw Perfecto in school. And I have never heard of him since then. That was some 20 plus years ago. I am reminded of my dear friend Perfecto as I stood in the same room where we met. The chairs back then were made of wood, and although they were similar, none was an exact copy of another. There are a lot more chairs now than before. The chairs today are made of hard plastic, far sturdier, and look exactly like each other. I am reminded of Perfecto as I deal now with not just one, but a number of my own students who, just like Perfecto, could only like one and only one chair for himself and refused to take a chance on the others. That ends my story.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
So Maricris, what about that story do you especially love?
This story was inspired by that story. It's a book by Spencer Johnson. It's entitled "Who Moved My Cheese?" Although there are more characters in that story, the theme of that book is basically on change and how different people respond to it. And this one, "Who Moved My Chair?" This also talks about change. And basically, the lesson of the story is the answer to the question, "Who moved my chair?" So here, it was the teacher who moved the chair, but it wasn't her fault. It's the circumstances at that time.
So you like the way the story portrays and illustrates change?
Yes. It basically shows how people refuse to respond to change. Just because they are already comfortable with the status quo, and they like something about what they are on right now, but yes, what they fail to realize is that there's more in them, more for them with the other options that they have. It's
Wonderful.
it's a simplified version of that book that I am referring.
Okay, anybody have any thoughts about that story and that theme of change and resisting change? Of course, change can be an opportunity, but it's true, many times we're afraid of it.
Adults are resistant to change, Eric.
Hmm.
They're so used to their little turf that they don't want anything upsetting that. But like you say, I mean, those evolved souls know that change can be, can open up a whole new world. But we get too comfortable in where we are, in the zones where we are.
Mhm.
I think there's a sense of familiarity and, your favorite chair, your favorite corner, or your whatever.
Mhm. Kajal?
Yeah.
So what I felt is, if this story is told to children, and there would be definitely a child, because I remember I had a student who wanted a bench for himself, the whole bench for himself, and he didn't want anyone sitting with him. So for him, the change was very difficult. If suppose I knew this story and I had told this story, so it might have made a difference if we had discussed how could Perfecto overcome this chair thing, because later when we put a child next to him, it was a task because the child would get only little space to sit, and this kid's books would be on the desk, on the chair. And slowly, the transition did happen. He started keeping his books in the bag. But this story is beautiful, in a way to show the child's emotional connect with the chair.
Yes. About the ending of the story for Perfecto. Thank you, by the way, for the kind words. Um, I just although it's a sad part of the story that he didn't go to school anymore, he didn't come back, but yes, that's the reality for some. Okay, and the sad thing is that nowadays, because I'm a teacher, by the way, I noticed that kind of attitude among my students, my very own students, and it's just not just one. Usually, before, you can count with your fingers how many of them are not that performing or not that engaging. But now there's more of them, and it's a challenge to us teachers.
You say there's more of them, it's because of the pandemic, or did they stop school for some time, right? Now they're coming back?
Not really because of the pandemic, but I think it's because of some changes in the educational system that we have. But maybe the pandemic has a bit worsened it, because as we all know, not everyone can participate in online classes. So we just basically trust that they are studying their learning materials that we sent them. But there was not much engagement from the students. But we cannot blame everyone. We don't know what they're going through right now. So not just because it's pandemic, but even before this pandemic, um, this is what I see in the set of students that I have now.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Any thoughts? Kajal has written, it's a very heart-touching story in the
Yes,
chat.
I'm in the comments, and I'm really thankful that oh, what happened? It's gone.
No, I feel even the older people, as we get older, we are very particular about certain things being in a particular place, and we get disturbed because of that. Maybe we find a comfort, or we figure out something is pleasing with a particular positioning or a particular thing. That's what I'm thinking about. So I see my in-laws, and I see them, sitting in a particular chair and having a cup of coffee, or if they move from that place, they are not comfortable at all. So maybe that gives the comfort. We need to observe more and understand ourselves. Maybe we too have that.
Okay, thank you very much, Maricris. Thank you for making the effort to connect with us by generator power or however you did it. We appreciate that you did it.
House. Sorry, I'm on the second floor of our house because I can't get a signal downstairs. But
Yes.
it's quite noisy here because on that side there's a generator running, and on that side there's another one. So it's a
Oh,
bit.
we're not hearing the generator, so it worked out fine. Thank you.
That's good. Thank you. Thank you.